Mark Levin here. The post-election economy could be a minefield of inflation, massive debt, and currency instability. That's why I count on gold for my financial protection. When it comes to gold, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're one of the top gold companies in America, and that's who I turn to for my own investments. Call them now, 800-900-8000, for a free gold investment kit, and see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Don't wait and see if post-election chaos destroys your savings. Act preemptively. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. In hour 2, our guest will be Melania Trump. In hour 3, our guest will be Senator Rick Scott of Florida. We'll get a rundown from him on what's taking place. We've not been able to reach Governor DeSantis, as he's very, very busy, obviously. So, now the Hurricane Milton. Obviously, it could have been a lot worse, but for people who've lost family members or pets or homes, it was horrific. It's going to cost a lot of money. It's very interesting. These tornadoes on the east coast of Florida. I'll tell you what's interesting. Off the air, I would ask individuals, experts, now when this hurricane comes through on the west coast, the east coast, what happens there? And we didn't get much input. Didn't get much input at all. But I seem to remember from past hurricanes, things do happen on the other coast when a hurricane kind of, not necessarily cuts all the way through, but starts working its way up the coast. Now, where our home is located, in Martin County, Florida, it turned out that there were a lot of little tornadoes. And same with Palm Beach County, just south of Martin County. Palm Beach Gardens, up near Stuart, Florida, in Martin County. I told you on the air last night that somebody sent me a video of a tornado that actually went across A1A and I-95, which goes north-south or south-north, however you look at it, up the Florida coast. So far, they've been able to determine 10 people have died, 5 of whom died from tornadoes. I suspect that number will go up in terms of the total number of people. Florida's very lucky to have this Governor DeSantis, the team that he has. I mean, they're in there now. They're cleaning up. They're opening the major roads. He's got all kinds of programs, all kinds of personnel on the scene. It's quite remarkable. I think he approaches it, and I don't know this, as almost a military operation. And I think that's very wise. And I have to say, when you compare this to the way Hurricane Helene was treated particularly in North Carolina, you can see the difference between leadership and non-leadership. Every hurricane's not the same. Every situation's not the same. The mountain communities or the rural communities in western North Carolina, it's much harder to get to them. I do understand that. But I want to make something abundantly clear. Politics aside, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Secretary Mayorkas did not treat Hurricane Helene seriously enough, early enough. They did not focus on it. And that's why it was even a bigger disaster than it needed to be. That's why it was even a bigger disaster than it needed to be. And these personal attacks by Joe Biden, that Trump is un-American, get a life, by Kamala Harris and so forth, this is just intended to camouflage their own incompetence, and I might add laziness. It's not a coincidence. It's not a mistake. He was there in Rehoboth Beach. He knew this hurricane was coming, the first one. And she was out there raising more money. She's got over $1 billion now. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. In Hollywood and LA and Las Vegas. Neither was necessary. She didn't attend a single pre-hurricane meeting. I've told you this over and over again because I want to get it out there. Some people are starting to understand this. And so when they say it is misinformation to point these things out, and when they say you're causing deaths to point these things out, and when they're saying you're causing people not to seek help when you point these things out, that is a lie. We have every right to criticize the government, and that includes this regime, when they fail the people of the United States. And that's exactly what they've done. Just like they've done on the border for 4 straight damn years. Of course it needs to be pointed out. Now more than ever, we have an election coming up. Oh, that you're playing politics. No. Now's the chance. You either change the government or you don't. She keeps talking about an opportunity economy. She keeps talking about turning the page. She keeps talking about the future. She keeps talking about joy. She's none of those things. None of those things matter to her. She's talking about herself, her future. She has absolutely nothing to offer this country. Nothing. And Biden has been a screw-up from the day he entered the Oval Office. A screw-up. With Afghanistan, with Russia and Ukraine, certainly with the Middle East and Israel, on the border, on the economy. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something you're not hearing today. Ready for this one? This is Associated Press. U.S. jobless claims hit 258,000, the most in a year. Analysts point to Hurricane Helene and the Boeing strike. That's not it. Hurricane Helene just hit. That's not it. The Boeing strike? Well, we have strikes all the time. The fact of the matter is the economy is not recovering. The propaganda from the media in Washington and the Democrat Party, it's constant. It's constant. It's not reality. It's not what people feel. It's not what people know. U.S. jobless claims the most in a year. Got that? The most in a year. Then there's this that nobody's reporting. Inflation rises 2.4% in September, above expectations. Above expectations. Inflation is still here, and it's going to get worse. Jobless claims are up, the most in a year. The most in a year. And so you have core prices, gasoline, food, things that you need. They're continuing to go up. Your incomes and your salaries and your pensions are not keeping up because of inflation. And that's the truth. High inflation has created severe financial pressures for most U.S. households, which are forced to pay more for everyday necessities like food and rent. Price hikes are particularly devastating for lower-income Americans because they tend to spend more of their already stretched paycheck on necessities and therefore have less flexibility to save. So who is it? Why is it that $1 billion comes into the Kamala Harris campaign? Those aren't small donations. And the political action committees? Very wealthy people. What is it? I'm going to tell you what it is. Some people get extremely rich and even powerful as the government gets bigger and bigger and bigger and more centralized, like George Soros. George Soros just picked up 220 radio stations for a song. The FCC, the Democrats, they let him buy Audacity using over 25% foreign money. That sets off alarms at the FCC historically. There is a procedure in place that was put there for a reason. I have a national security review of this investment. They bypassed that, they eliminated it, and they handed him his 220 radio stations. That's why George Soros is a leftist, because he's become a billionaire, a multi-billionaire, at a big government, centralized police state leftism. He's not a capitalist. He's not a capitalist. So a lot of billionaires, they don't make money off of capitalism, off of market economics, because they've developed things or invented things. It always strikes me, there's so many billionaires, and you ask them what they do, and they say, finances. What does that mean? I don't even know what that finances. You're so brilliant, you're advising people on how to invest. There's only so many ways to invest. But the Democrat Party is filled with what I call corporatists. These corporatists who live off of economic socialism, who live off of big government. They become the sugar daddies of the Democrat Party and the Democrat Party machine and the Democrat Party campaigns. That's what's going on. Kamala Harris does not have any capitalist, private sector, free market proposals. Still handing people $25,000, handing people $50,000, handing people student loan forgiveness. No. Economically, you'd be talking about tax cuts and regulatory cuts. She has no tax cuts or regulatory cuts on the table. She wants to nationalize health care, and if she's elected, that's exactly what they're going to push through. They want to destroy the Electoral College so they have all kinds of power. Why? Because there will be campaigns, and the campaigns will be in 11 blue states, mostly in the cities. None of us will have representation. That's why they want to eliminate the Electoral College, to destroy what is and what was a compromise at the beginning of this republic to make sure small states and large, heavily populated states and states not heavily populated, states that grow our food and find our oil, aren't left out of the mix. So they want to destroy it. And they say, well, it's the popular vote. Don't you believe in the popular vote? No, not when it's mobocracy. Mobocracy. So they want to fix the system, and I don't mean reform it. Fix it so they can never lose. They want to add Puerto Rico as a state and D.C. as a state. That's 4 Democrats. Fix the system so the Republicans can never win the Senate. They want to eliminate the filibuster. Why? So they can ram these things through just by having a one-time majority. Because you can't reverse these things. They want to destroy the independence of the Supreme Court, expand its numbers, and pack it with ideologues, turn it into a Politburo. They've already in many ways destroyed our voting system, and they want to destroy it even further. They want to eliminate what they call gerrymandering, which is a pejorative that's used for states. The Republicans control the state. They try and adjust every 10 years based on the census, the congressional districts. No. They want to do it in a way where they never lose. Where they never lose. These people are about power, and I see Elon Musk has picked up on something I've been saying and writing about for years. What's happening right now, and by the way, I'm glad. I want people to repeat these things. I want people to understand them and think about them. That's a good thing. They want to create a party monopoly in the Democrat Party. I've written about it. The Democrat Party hates America. I've written about it in American Marxism. I've talked about it for 20-some years here and elsewhere. If they have the monopoly party, like they do in California, they have elections statewide, but they don't really matter. You can see it happening in places like Illinois and others. My point is the monopoly party wants power. They're power hungry. They want control. And the Democrat Party wants this power. And it wants this power to change America. to change the face of America, to change the culture of America, to change the economic system in America. And yes, go through the motions of voting, but have their mastermind, something they have dreamt about and written about for 120 years since the early progressives, the progeny of Marx, American Marxism. They want the so-called experts, the so-called masterminds to make the decision. Oh, we'll go through the voting system. Oh, yes, we'll go through it. But we'll make sure that only we win and that only we are empowered. We'll go through that system. Big deal. What I call the Potemkin voting system, meaning phony. Well, sure, we'll go through that system. The borders are wide open to reshape the electorate. That's a quote from the New York Times. It's something I've been saying for 20 years, and I've been attacked viciously. Oh, replacement theory. It's not a theory. It's reality. And AOC and Bernie Sanders said it. They don't realize they said it, but they said it. If we can beat Ted Cruz in Texas, we can turn Texas purple to blue. We'll control electoral politics for a generation. Actually, they'll control it forever. They know exactly what they're doing. This is what they're doing. This is who they are. So these multi-billionaires who become multi-billionaires when the Democrats are in power. Look at Obama. He's worth $250 million. Look at Gore, as dumb as they come, worth $200 million. How? They're rewarded. They're rewarded by the oligarchs and the billionaires and the corporatists when they leave office. It's a klepto society, if you will, where the rich and the super rich and rich. Look, I don't mind people getting rich legitimately.
Mark Levin.
Folks, we may be standing on the precipice of a post-election economic meltdown. Any election can send shockwaves through our financial system, but this time, the stakes could be higher than ever. Reckless spending, mounting debt, misguided policies has set the stage for potential economic disaster. We can see rapid inflation or even attempts to undermine our currency. That's why I've always relied on diversification and gold for protection. It's been said to be a timeless safeguard against economic chaos, and in these uncertain times, it's more crucial than ever. When it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold exclusively. They're one of the top gold companies in America, and they're who I turn to for my own investments. Call 800-900-8000 right now for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help protect you from post-election chaos. You might even qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. Sorry, we had a little technical problem there, but the point is a very, very important one. The Kamala Harris that's being presented to the American people isn't the real Kamala Harris. And I'm going to spend time on this, a lot of time, on my opening statement Saturday on Life, Liberty, and Levin. And we have two great guests, Ted Cruz and the former ambassador to Israel from the United States, David Friedman. So I hope you'll watch that. But I'm spending a lot of time on her. The real Kamala Harris, the person who is vicious and brutal and foul-mouthed to her staff and can't keep staff. The Kamala Harris who is a radical leftist. And none of this flip-flop. I think Republicans have made a mistake saying it's flip-flopping. She's not flip-flopping. She's the real deal. She's not bright. That's why they hide her as much as they can. She can't complete her thoughts and can't complete her sentences. She's been climbing the ladder since she was a young lady, really doing almost anything she needed to be DA, Attorney General, Senator, Vice President, now President. These oligarchs, special interests, the Democrat ruling class, and some of the never-Trumpers who've thrown in with them, they don't really care about the country. They want this party, Democrat Party, to be the vessel through which they operate, to keep handing them more and more industries and handing them more and more of your tax dollars. I'll be back. Folks, we may be standing on the precipice of a post-election economic meltdown. Any election can send shockwaves through our financial system, but this time, the stakes could be higher than ever. Reckless spending, mounting debt, misguided policies has set the stage for potential economic disaster. We can see rapid inflation or even attempts to undermine our currency. That's why I've always relied on diversification and gold for protection. It's been said to be a timeless safeguard against economic chaos, and in these uncertain times, it's more crucial than ever. When it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold exclusively. They're one of the top gold companies in America, and they're who I turn to for my own investments. Call 800-900-8000 right now for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help protect you from post-election chaos. You might even qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
Mark Levin, the great one.
The great one, Mark Levin.
Dial in now, 877-381-3811.
So Barack Obama is being called into campaign in Pennsylvania, western Pennsylvania, around Pittsburgh and so forth. They hope they can run the numbers up there. I would just ask the people in that part of our country, in my state of Pennsylvania, don't you get sick and tired of these old politicians, quasi Hollywood-type politicians dropping in and telling you who to vote for? What does Barack Obama have in common with anybody in western Pennsylvania right now? Guy's got 5 homes. They're all mansions. He's made a fortune since he's left the presidency. And he just shows up. Shows up because he's just so cool. He's just so persuasive. And he'll go there and he'll attack Trump and he'll make jokes and he'll fill his ego and all the rest of it. I even think back to his presidency. What the hell did he do for the African-American community? Literally nothing. And what did he do when it came to the hardworking men and women in fracking, in steel, in coal? He attacked you. He tried to put you out of business. That's what he did. I just want you to remember this. Barack Obama is enormously popular among the rich and the beautiful in Hollywood, a Martha's Vineyard, among the rich in Hyde Park area. That's it. He doesn't go back to communities that really need help. Doesn't go to Newark, New Jersey, or Camden, New Jersey, places I'm familiar with. He doesn't go to communities that really have it tough right now. Some presidents leave office, and they really contribute in a big way to certain aspects of our society, things that interest them. Obama's not one of them. He's not one of them. I hope what I'm saying is resonating, is understandable. Sometimes, I wonder, but I just want to explain this. When you look at these various centralized governments, heavily centralized governments, people can say whatever they want. They're for the people, equity, equality. We've heard it all. But usually it is it's a curtain to hide their real motives and their real interests, which is power. These people are power hungry, and they want to use the government to enrich themselves. Barack Obama has never invented anything. He's never produced anything. Neither is Michelle Obama. They're worth tens of millions of dollars. Al Gore's never invented anything. He's never created anything. He's never developed anything. He's worth tens of millions of dollars, and they've become this rich after they left office. They had power. If Al Gore hadn't been a vice president or a senator, he'd never be this wealthy. If Barack Obama, a community activist, if he hadn't been a senator and president, he'd never be this wealthy. They need government to get rich. Same with Biden. Biden would be probably a single attorney with a shingle hanging out handling divorce cases. I'm just guessing. But that's about it. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but he wouldn't be where he is today. So these people First they seek power, then they seek wealth, and then they have power and wealth. And they reward their allies. Like George Soros was just awarded with 220 radio stations. They create solar energy. We need solar energy, but it just so happens that their buddies get extremely rich off of solar energy. And they destroy the competition. So we'll put the oil rigs out of business. We'll stop the fracking. What? Yes. So big centralized government isn't about the little guy. It's not about we the people. It's not about economic competition. It's not about equality or equity or any of it. Castro lived like a multimillionaire while his people were starving to death. Mao had women, all the food he wanted. He got fat. He got sick. He lived like a billionaire while his people were suffering. Un, over in North Korea, like his dad and his grandfather. People are eating grass. They're eating bugs. They have no life. They have no hope. They have nothing. But he lives like a billionaire. Xi, communist China. Anything he wants, he gets. Everything he wants, he gets. They're not about the people. They're not Mahatma Gandhi. They're not anything like this. Putin, same thing. Obviously, different types of tyranny. Some are more aggressive and violent than others. But same in our country. Except for Donald Trump. He comes into office a billionaire. He didn't become a billionaire off of politics. He didn't become a billionaire because of some program that was created to help enrich him. He's a builder, a developer. He built an entire skyline. And, of course, they attack him. He's a billionaire. You know, Kamala Harris, she came from a middle-class family. First of all, she didn't. She's a liar. Both her parents were tenured professors. She worked at McDonald's. She can't even prove it. And when you raise it, oh, yes, she did. Oh, no, she didn't. Yes, she did. Okay, where? When? But it doesn't matter. They pretend, they lie, that they're of the people, they're for the people, while they're screwing the people. Donald Trump came up with another proposal today. Deduct interest on your car loans. You should be able to deduct it like you do your mortgage interest. Now, even some of our conservative friends are saying, you know, that's ridiculous. I want to remind them that before Ronald Reagan and the massive tax cuts of August of 1981, which were fantastic, which grew the economy, really, by the time Reagan left, by 30%, the economy grew 30%. We used to be able to deduct all interest on credit cards, on car loans, vehicle loans. Same with mortgage interest and so forth and so on. You could deduct it all. You could deduct it all. But what Reagan said, no, we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to just slash taxes. And he slashed it, to be honest, more than anybody in modern history. And Trump did too. He followed up with it. And they said, oh, look at that. Tax cuts for billionaires. Well, the Democrats use your money, your taxes, the debt to enrich their friends who in turn give them $1 billion to run for president. Like Harris. Like Harris. This is the ruling class. These are the special interests who really do not want you to have opportunity. Let's turn the page, says Kamala Harris. Well, if we turn the page, then we broom her because she's the vice president. If Kamala Harris cared about the little guy, the average working person, union, non-union, the middle class, then why is the border wide open? If she cared about your community, you ladies in the suburbs who are overwhelmed by her charisma and her smarts and all the rest of it, then why is there crime through the wazoo? She doesn't support the cops. She opposes the cops. You parents out there, you know, the first organization to come out and endorse Kamala Harris literally within hours after she was chosen as the Democrat Party nominee was the American Federation of Teachers, Randy Weingarten. Right out of the box. Randy Weingarten, a Marxist, who does not believe that you parents should have control over your children, over over their decision-making, over what they read, over their bodies, or anything else. She is a hard-left Marxist radical. She and the NEA and the rest have been destroying the public schools. You want parental control? You want parental notification? You want parental involvement? Kamala Harris isn't going to do that. She rejects all that. And yet the women in the suburbs were told, obviously if you listen to this show, I'm not talking about you, but the others. The women in the suburbs were told, abortion's the... She even lies about that. Let me try this one more time before the election. Roe v. Wade set up a trimester system, I'll call it. In the third trimester, states were free to regulate abortions, and they did, some more than others. Kamala Harris does not support that. When they talk about putting Roe back in place, she does not mean that. She believes in abortion right up to birth. Her running mate signed a law that repealed a law that required doctors to care for babies after botched abortions. He repealed it. He lied during the debate. Look it up. It's on the internet. Just look it up. The law's right there. And Kamala Harris supports that. The Democrat Party supports that. But they're running hundreds of millions of dollars in ads telling you all they want to do is get Roe v. Wade back. They even use an example of a woman who died from Georgia. They said because she couldn't get an abortion, she had to leave the state. That's not what happened. She took an abortion pill. It had a terrible effect. Complications took place. She went to the hospital. The doctors apparently, as I read the facts of this case, tried, but ineffectively, to save her life. It had nothing to do with abortion. It had to do with the abortion pill, but she keeps bringing it up. That's the best example they have. And they hope to ride that right into the White House. Ride that right into the White House. It's appalling. Well, I got to move on. I've got so much to cover. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, we may be standing on the precipice of a post-election economic meltdown. Any election can send shockwaves through our financial system, but this time, the stakes could be higher than ever. Reckless spending, mounting debt, misguided policies has set the stage for potential economic disaster. We can see rapid inflation or even attempts to undermine our currency. That's why I've always relied on diversification and gold for protection. It's been said to be a timeless safeguard against economic chaos, and in these uncertain times, it's more crucial than ever. When it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold exclusively. They're one of the top gold companies in America, and they're who I turn to for my own investments. Call 800-900-8000 right now for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help protect you from post-election chaos. You might even qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. Next hour, Melania Trump, but also something else. CBS News, what they did to Donald Trump by promoting Kamala Harris. Not editing. They didn't edit what she said. They changed what she said. They changed what she said about Israel and how she said it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a red line that no media organization should cross. We've seen it throughout this campaign. ABC News, CNN. We've seen it now, CBS twice. And I want to go through this with you and take our time doing it. And I will have more information to add to this soon. What are you talking about, Mark? You'll know. You'll know when I get started. It seems like for the media, ladies and gentlemen, if you hate the country, and I mean hate it, you're not to be questioned, you're not to be challenged. They either hire you or they promote you. And if you hate Jews and you hate the state of Israel, you're to be defended. You're not to be touched. That's right. CBS was founded by William Paley, a brilliant man, a businessman who truly believed in free speech. He was in Philadelphia. His first station was WCAU, now WPHT, which is now owned, believe it or not, by George Soros, as they seek to purify the airwaves of conservative talk. Well, CBS News is a far cry from the days of William Paley, who created these various radio stations, television stations, and a television network. This is not as left-wing as he was, Walter Cronkite, but he was a professional. Edward R. Murrow, names many of you probably never heard of before. What's taken place here is unbelievable. They have a host who's Jewish, whose family lives in Israel, who questions the guest in his book, which is a bigoted, anti-Semitic, anti-Israel book. In a very fair, classy discussion, they punish the reporter, the host. They want to put him through re-education. I want you to listen to some of this, but I want you to listen to something that I just received. You'll see what I mean. Stick with us. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Let's get started. Tony Dokapol has been a host at CBS. He is of the Jewish religion. I believe he has some family that lives in Israel. Ta-Nehisi Coates is on my view, this guy is a race hustler. That's my view. But he's been given all kinds of accolades by all kinds of people and so forth and so on. So they're on CBS Morning last week, and I saw this, actually. He's written a book on, among other things, the solution in Israel, and it is very hostile to the state of Israel, that Israel's apartheid. His father's a Marxist, by the way. There's a lot of that going around, right? Right, Kamala? But I want you to listen to this back and forth. Cut 13, go.
Ta-Nehisi, I want to dive into the Israel-Palestine section of the book. It's the largest section of the book. And I have to say, when I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out of it, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away, the content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist. And so then I found myself wondering, why does Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I've known for a long time, read his work for a long time, very talented, smart guy, leave out so much? Why leave out that Israel is surrounded by countries that want to eliminate it? Why leave out that Israel deals with terror groups that want to eliminate it? Why not detail anything of the first and the second intifada, the cafe bombings, the bus bombings, the little kids blown to bits? And is it because you just don't believe that Israel, in any condition, has a right to exist?
Well, I would say the perspective that you just outlined, there is no shortage of that perspective in American media. That's the first thing I would say. I am most concerned always with those who don't have a voice, with those who don't have the ability to talk. I have asked repeatedly in my interviews whether there is a single network, mainstream organization in America with a Palestinian American bureau chief or correspondent who actually has a voice to articulate their part of the world. I've been a reporter for 20 years. The reporters of those who believe more sympathetically about Israel and its right to exist don't have a problem getting their voice out. But what I saw in Palestine, what I saw on the West Bank, what I saw in Haifa in Israel, what I saw in the South Hebron Hills, those were the stories that I have not heard.
Well, I don't know what you're listening to. I can point you to reading the New York Times. I can point you to listening to CNN and certainly MSNBC. I can point you to a lot of their hosts and a lot of it. There's a reason why the whole world is against Israel. There's a reason why the Palestinians are subsidized by the entire world. And, of course, not a nary a word about the Palestinians themselves. But let's go on. Cut 14, go.
But if you were to read this book, you would be left wondering, why does any of Israel exist? What a horrific place, committing horrific acts on a daily basis. So I think the question is central and key. If Israel has a right to exist, and if your answer is no, then I guess the question becomes, why do the Palestinians have a right to exist? Why do 20 different Muslim countries have a right to exist?
My answer is that no country in this world establishes its ability to exist through rights. Countries establish their ability to exist through force, as America did. And so I think this question of right to Israel does exist. It's a fact. The question of its right is not a question that I would be faced with any other country.
But you write a book that delegitimizes the pillars of Israel. It seems like an effort to topple the whole building of it. So I come back to the question, and it's what I struggled with throughout this book. What is it that so particularly offends you about the existence of a Jewish state that is a Jewish safe place and not any of the other states out there?
There's nothing that offends me about a Jewish state. I am offended by the idea of states built on ethnocracy, no matter where they are.
Muslim included.
I would not want a state where any group of people laid down their citizenship rights based on ethnicity. The country of Israel is a state in which half the population exists on one tier of citizenship, and everybody else that's ruled by Israelis exists on another tier, including Palestinian Israeli citizens. The only people that exist on that first tier are Israeli Jews. Why do we support that? Why is that okay?
Now, that's a lie. Tell me, the Jews, what kind of level are they on in the Gaza Strip? There are none. How about the Jews in Iran? How about the Jews in Iraq? How about the Jews in Saudi Arabia? How about the Jews in Egypt? How about the Jews in Jordan? How about the Jews anywhere? And the Christians, for that matter. They've either been wiped out or pushed out of their homes and country years and years and years ago. The ones that exist under horrific conditions. This guy is a bigot. He's a bigot. He attacks democracies. That's what he does. I want you to listen to Cut 22 because he does another interview and he really exposes himself in a big way. And by the way, I'm doing this for a reason, as you'll see in a moment. Go ahead, Mr. Producer.
And I haven't said this out loud, but I think about it a lot. All right,
let me stop.
20 years old.
He's talking about October 7th. What happened on October 7th? Go from the top. Go ahead.
And I haven't said this out loud, but I think about it a lot. 20 years old, born into Gaza, which is a giant open-air jail. And what I mean by that is if my father is a fisherman and he goes too far out into the sea, he might get shot by somebody off of, a side of Israeli boats. If my mother picks the olive trees and she gets too close to the walls, she might be shot. If my little sister has, cancer and she needs treatment because there are no, facilities to do that in Gaza, and I don't get the right permit.
Hold on, folks. This guy, there are hospitals in that part of Israel that take in Palestinians by the hundreds and over the course of years by the thousands. By the thousands. I have visited those hospitals. One in particular. They don't ask about the background, the ethnicity, or anything of the people who come through that door. Of course, he doesn't talk about how these Palestinians are raised in their schools. He doesn't talk about their mission statements, Hamas, Hezbollah, the rest of them. He doesn't talk about the fact that these terrorist organizations kill more Muslims than anybody else. He doesn't get into any of that. But keep listening. Go.
And I grow up under that oppression and that poverty, and the wall comes down. Am I also strong enough or even constructed in such a way where I say, this is too far? I don't know that I am.
Got that? He doesn't know that he wouldn't have participated. He doesn't know. Over at the Free Press, which I don't cite much because, quite frankly, they don't cite much or encourage the work that we do here very much. And even though I admire Barry Weiss, it took her a while to come around and understand what the New York Times is when she was personally abused by them, in my view. But it's something we've known here for a very, very long time. If you study the history of the New York Times, its conduct during the Holocaust, you would never have even bothered being employed there. That's just my opinion. And she writes with Oliver Weissman, on Monday, we reported the CBS Mornings co-star, Tony DeCaprio, was admonished by senior executives for failing to meet CBS editorial standards in that interview with Tanisha Coates about his new book, The Message, which features a one-sided anti-Israel polemic. We also published a recording of the part of that October 7 meeting in which CBS bigwigs hung DeCaprio, their employee, out to dry. Our reporting was picked up everywhere. Even the New York Times had to acknowledge the scoop, and 2 days later, it's still not clear what DeCaprio did wrong, other than ask tough but substantive questions. In our world, we call that journalism. But the fallout over the sin of his questions continued on Tuesday morning during a meeting for the morning show staff. Originally, CBS News had invited a self-described mental health expert, DEI strategist, and trauma trainer named Dr. Donald Grant to moderate a conversation on the issue in an all-staff meeting on Tuesday. That plan was scrapped after old social media posts by Dr. Grant surfaced, including one where he referred to South Carolina Senator Tim Scott as an Uncle Tom, and another of him describing a possible second Trump term as magicide. And it goes on. Meanwhile, Coates himself spoke about the controversy for the first time on Tuesday. In a trailer for an appearance on the Trevor Noah podcast, he accused DeCaprio of commandeering the interview. I don't think he did Nate and Gail a service, and I'm really, really sorry for them, he said. And then he said what he said that I just played for you. William Paley is rolling in his grave, I can promise you that. CBS News has thrown in with the Jew haters and the anti-Semites. CBS News is actively involved in trying to interfere with and sabotage the Trump campaign. It did it with its phony moderators. It's doing it right now. And CBS News isn't alone. It's a cabal of corporate media that have abandoned professional journalism and the First Amendment for government-run Democrat Party propaganda. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The big wireless carriers want to limit you to two choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk. Welcome back, America. It is a great honor, really, to have Melania Trump with us. I consider her a good friend. My wife is very jealous, Julie. She loves Melania. Melania, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. Good evening, Mark. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I am lovely. Because here I am with you, national radio, millions of people listening. This is a fantastic book. It's called Melania. I like it. Just the title and the cover. You can get it at Amazon.com. You can get it at MelaniaTrump.com. Melania Trump, let's start at the beginning a little bit. You were very, very, very close to your mother. By the way, this is all in the book. I'm just hitting parts of it. And she passed away recently. You're close to your father. Tell us about your parents. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing in Slovenia and so forth.
Yes, my mother passed away in January, and we miss her tremendously. She's with us in our souls and with us all the time. She was a very special woman. And I grew up in Slovenia, in a small town, with a sister as a sibling, four of us, my mother, my father, my sister, and me, and had a beautiful childhood. I grew up under communism, and as a child, as a baby girl, I didn't have any knowledge about I grew up under communism. It was a beautiful childhood. My mother and father provide me with everything what I needed at that time. So we were thriving, and I was successful in the school and started my modeling at 6 years old, actually, because my mother was in fashion industry. She was working for the company, and she introduced me to the fashion world. And later on, when I was a teenager, the photographer discovered me. And that's how I continue into the modeling industry later on. But I still was studying. I studied industrial design as a teenager and fashion design, and later went to study architecture. And I paused the study so I could go on for achieving my dreams.
Mm-hmm. It's important. People should know you're very well educated. You studied. Mm-hmm. You were very successful. You became really a supermodel. And then you came to the United States. Explain how that happened.
I modeled in Milan and Paris. And while I was in Milan, I met an agent from New York City that was the co-owner of the agency here in New York City. And he saw me and he invited me to come to New York and to model here. So I arrived in September, end of August in 1996. Mm-hmm. So it was a very exciting time for me. But also, there's some challenges. You come to New York alone as a young woman, and you don't know anyone, and you need to be on your own 2 feet and to have self-motivation and self-reliance, and be very, very smart and very careful as well, because the fashion world it's a tough world. It can be very mean and cutthroat, and here we are now in 2024.
Mm-hmm. And you're in New York, and really a self-made young lady. Mm-hmm. And you're doing extraordinarily well. A little time later, a few years later, you are invited to a friend's party. You go to this party, and you meet somebody named Donald Trump. Tell us, that was 1998. Tell us a little bit about that.
It was 1998 in September. We met at the fashion party, and we have a great connection. Since then, we started dating, and we had a long courtship. We got married in 2005. We had a beautiful life. We enjoyed each other's company, and we really enjoyed and traveled. And I was still working that time as a model, and he was working, being busy. As you know, he loves to work. He loves to give back to this country. He loves this country, and we were just enjoying life and being very productive.
Mm-hmm. And obviously it's not all the time, but my wife and I have been with you and him, and I just want the nation to know, I can see the way you two look at each other. He relies on your advice. He listens carefully when you speak, particularly about important issues. You have that influence on it. That doesn't mean he's not his own man, but he wants to hear what his wife has to say. He has enormous respect for you. You can tell that, right? Because I can tell it just by sitting there and watching.
We respect each other's output, how we think. We are both individuals, and he respects my advice, and he asks me about it, what I think about, or sometimes I tell him what I think about. And it's not always that he will agree or he will listen, but that is his choice. As I always say, we are all adults. We will do what we feel and what we think it's right, but I always express my thoughts and what I feel, so that he hears from me directly, and I'm very honest with him. I'm not a yes person, and I tell him the truth. And sometimes it's hard to hear because people sometimes around him or around me, they prefer to say yes than they would say no. So I'm very honest with him.
Mm-hmm. And you got to have a partner like that, because
Correct.
It serves you both well. I mean, there's enough yes men and yes women. I don't count myself as yes men. I hope he doesn't view me that way. But you get my point. That is...
I do.
Yeah. Now, I noticed something else. You're both deeply in love with each other. I can see that. The respect you have for each other, the way you look at each other, and so forth and so on. When he goes through these things, when they call him names, when they try and create a fictionalized character of him, and they say, look, I've been around a while, they say the most awful things about him that they've never said about any politician before. When we come back, Melania, and you talk about all these things, I want to dig in on that a little bit. The book is Melania. Folks, I want you to get this. You're going to love this book. MelaniaTrump.com, or go to Amazon.com. It'll show up at your table tomorrow. Grab your copy. We'll be right back. The big wireless carriers want to limit you to two choices when it comes to data: unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk. We're here with former First Lady and, God willing, future First Lady Melania Trump. You can get her book, Melania, at Amazon.com or MelaniaTrump.com. And Melania Trump, so I was saying, you hear these things said about your husband, and it is on a constant basis. You know him better than anybody. Is it now roll off your back, or you just can't get used to it, or you're just furious and frustrated by it? What goes through your mind?
I think it will never stop. They don't stop even after July 13, September 15. They never stopped, and it's really so shocking, right, to hear from the opposition leaders and the mainstream media that they calling him all of the vile names and a threat to democracy. And this is only contributing to a toxic atmosphere and encouraging people to do harm to the former president. So it is really disturbing. And I don't think it will end, because we are closer and closer to the election. And we could still hear mainstream media, their toxic language. They
really work day in and day out a campaign of dehumanization. That's what it is, and that's what it's... They really don't want to know him, do they? They don't really want to understand him. They don't really want the American people to know who he really is. And so they create this caricature. I see it, and it is really a terrible, terrible thing. Now, you write in the book beautifully about coming down that escalator when the president makes his announcement that he's running for president. That was quite a tense or nervous moment, wasn't it?
It was the moment that you know your life will change, and I could explain in detail how the day was in that chapter in my book. And yes, and life really changed from that day on.
You knew it would change for you?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. You knew it would change for you and Barron? It would change your lives forever? Do you think it's changed it for the better or worse? Or we don't know yet because the story really hasn't ended?
We don't know yet. We don't know yet. You know, as I always say, we don't know what will happen next month, what will happen in few months. So we don't know yet. In certain way, it was the greatest honor to serve this country. And people that I met and what we did in the White House and what my husband did under his leadership, the economy was growing, people were prospering, we had no wars. He was leading with peace through strength. He rebuilt the military and he kept our borders secured. So we could just see what we have now and where country is standing now. So people will decide on November 5th.
You seem to enjoy being First Lady, and by that I mean you really got into certain issues. You understood the majesty of the position. You treated the position of First Lady with respect. Tell me about that.
I did. For me, it was a very serious job, like no other. And when I was during the tenure in the White House, I successfully advanced my Be Best initiative that I launched in May 2018. And it was focused on critical issues such as opioid abuse and the well-being of children. That was including also the foster care community. And this initiative promoted a positive social, emotional, and physical health of our youth. And we need to support them. They are our future. So, and I also did as well, after leaving the White House, I was committed in supporting foster care community. That's why I established my two platforms, MelaniaTrump.com and USAmemorabilia.com.
And you established Fostering the Future, right?
Fostering the Future initiative that provides the financial assistance and resources to help those students to thrive academically. So I have many students now in the universities that I provide them a scholarship, and we want to have that in our society to put the positive impact for those foster care children. So later on, when they're finishing education, they could go on and they have a successful job and successful career, so they could give back to communities. It's like a circle, if you really think about it.
And you talk in the book also about, the SWAT team, this Mar-A-Lago, the interference in your private life, and the way that made you feel. You never thought you would experience anything like this in the United States of America. So much intrusion, these lawsuits and so forth. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I was really surprised when I got the text from my house manager that the FBI is in front of the door, that they need to come to the residence. So I was really shocked about it, and I never knew, and I still don't know how many people were there, how many people went through my belongings. When I arrived back, I was not at Mar-A-Lago. So when I arrived back, I saw my belongings. They went through my belongings, through everything. And it was invasion of privacy. And the way it was done, it was, unheard of.
No, it's grotesque, really outrageous. The book is Melania. You can get it at melaniatrump.com or go right to Amazon. You'll get it tomorrow on your desk or in your kitchen and so on. I can't recommend it enough. You have beautiful photos in here, too, by the way, I wanted to mention. Really, photos throughout your life, photos leading into the presidency of Donald Trump and through the presidency of Donald Trump. And so you had to go through and pick these photos. And what I notice is the vast majority of them are family-related photos, are they not?
They are family-related photos, a lot of photos as well from the White House and from my travels. And as well, I have out in December, now you could pre-order as well, collector's book. It's much bigger format, it has many, many more pictures, and also have pictures through my eyes. So what I took from my iPhone, my personal photos, I put that in collector's book as well, and it's available for pre-order. It will be out in December. And, I enjoy taking photographs from my travels when I can, and that I put in the book as well. So I put a lot of time to that book, to both of them. I really enjoyed it. It was a process, of course, like everybody knows when you write a book, as you know, Mark, as well, right? It's a process. But I really enjoyed it. I was very involved. I am involved in all of my businesses, from the idea to execution. I'm completely involved, and I like to put my input, how it looks, the end product. For me, it's very important.
Well, it's a beautiful book. The photos are beautiful. You're very patriotic. A number of your photos here with members of the military. You obviously really adore your husband. You've got a number of photos of him with the military, with leaders of state, you with leaders of state and President Trump and their wives and so forth and so on. And I could just tell you as a citizen, we couldn't have been more proud of you as First Lady Melania Trump. I just want you to know that. I know you folks take a lot of incoming, but that's the truth. And I'll end it this way. I already know the answer because I asked the president when I interviewed him, but I want to hear from you. I want the nation to hear from you, and I know others have asked you, but old Rush Limbaugh, he once told me, he said, you know what, Mark, they haven't heard from you, so you got to speak. And so here we are. That July 13th, you first learned of this by watching TV, the assassination attempt. Isn't that correct?
I did, yes.
And what went through your mind? Could you even believe it?
It was shocking at first. I paused the television for a few minutes. I needed to finish my project. I paused it, and I got the phone call from my chief of staff, and she said, "Are you watching TV? There was a shooting. He's okay." But as soon as I ran to TV and I rewinded, I was only 3 minutes, away from it. And I rewinded and I saw him on the floor. And at that moment, we didn't have any knowledge what happened really, where he was hit, because everything went so fast. And I didn't know what really happened. Is he okay? If he's not okay. So when he stood up and he put the fist up and said, "Fight, fight, fight," I know he's okay, but you still have a question mark. Where did the bullet go? What did happen? So I talked to him after a while. First I called Secret Service, and they didn't answer because they were with him. And after I called again, and Secret Service answered, and they said, "We are on the way to the hospital." And I talked to my husband, and he said, "I'm okay." But, you never know till you really see him. And he was home middle of the night, around 2:30 in the morning. We were, Baron and I, we were both waiting for him. And he came home, and we were so glad to see him alive.
You never get over that, do you? And then you worry about every time he goes out, don't you?
Of course you worry. Of course you worry. And you never know what kind of phone call you will receive. And, it's a not part of the job, but when you go in that kind of position, you could always, that stuff can happen, but you never think that it will, right?
Yeah, I know. And let me just say this. It is such an honor and pleasure for my wife and I to know you and your husband and to really enjoy you folks. And I pray to God that this election is successful. You can be returned as our First Lady. And I want you in the audience, you're going to love this book. You're going to learn a lot about Melania Trump. She's a real class act, very smart, self-made woman. MelaniaTrump.com. You can go to our Amazon.com, get a copy of the book. Now's the most propitious time to do it. 2.5 weeks before the election. You're going to love this book, I'm telling you. And thank you so much, Madam First Lady.
Thank you. And thank you, all of the listeners.
God bless you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, folks, seriously, you're going to love this book. Grab a copy. It's not your typical book. This is a very heartfelt book, and there's a lot of really intriguing and compelling information in here. The photographs are absolutely beautiful. Again, the book is Melania. You can go to MelaniaTrump.com or go to Amazon.com and order it now. It's on all my social sites. You'll have the link right there. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The big wireless carriers want to limit you to two choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk. Let's do this. We have a professor. These professors are destroying America. And, of course, the Democrats want them to wrong America. A guy by the name of Professor Phil Lowcock. That's right, Lowcock. At the University of Kansas. And during a recorded class not that long ago, I want you to hear what he had to say and why I feel that these legislatures in these states, which have the most power over these universities, need to start to use it and start to defund these classrooms, these professors, and maybe even these colleges. It's your tax dollars that are making it possible for these professors to get a salary, to have a forum, and destroy our country. Like Professor Phil Lowcock. Cut 16, go.
Guys are smarter than girls. You got some serious problems. That's what frustrates me. There are going to be some males in our society that will refuse to vote for a potential female president because they don't think females are smart enough to be president. We could line all those guys up and shoot them. They clearly don't understand the way the world works. Did I say that? Scratch that from the recording. I don't want the deans hearing that I said that.
First of all, he rambles like a buffoon. I don't know how he became a professor. So now if you oppose Kamala Harris, it's because you don't believe a woman should be president. They're not smart enough. I don't know. Margaret Thatcher is one of my great heroes. When I do my Blaze program or when I do my Life, Liberty, and Levin Fox program, I'm looking in the camera. On the left side where you can't see it, there is there's a foundation pole. It's not really a pole, it's more of a square, but it's a piling of sorts. And I have a number of photographs that I hang there, just as a remembrance. And one of the greatest photographs that I have is when I was shaking for the first time I met Margaret Thatcher when she was Prime Minister of Britain. She's one of my great heroes. So I don't know what this fool's talking about. So I oppose Kamala Harris for many reasons. She's a Marxist Islamist. She's absolutely an idiot. And she's a pathological liar. So to me, that is a very bad mix. A very bad mix. That doesn't mean you don't like women. But look at this guy. I hope that better not be on the record. He even knows he's being recorded. We could line all those guys up and shoot them. This is the language they use. This is how they approach Trump. This is how they approach anybody they disagree with. They use the language of violence. And when you really look at history, certainly in the last 20, 30 years, don't want to talk about January 6th till they're blue in the face. But they won't want to talk about left-wing riots. They won't want to talk about the anti-Semitism, the river to the sea crowd, the Marxists and the Islamists chasing Jews, beating up Jews, and not just Jews, but other people too. They don't want to talk about the Democrat Party and how it not only tolerates violence, but through its prosecutors and its policies, it promotes it. That's the party of violence. It always has been from slavery forward. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Welcome back, America. America's governor, Ron DeSantis, was on CNBC today. And here's a guy that's got his hands full, and he's doing a hell of a job. He's a really great general when it comes to these things, like a George Patton, if you will. And they ask him about this Kamala Harris and so forth. Cut 7, go.
Fact of the matter is, they put out a story saying I didn't even know she was trying to reach me, but she has no role in this process. And I've been dealing with these storms in Florida under both Trump and Biden. Neither of them ever politicized it. And in fact, all the storms I've dealt with under this administration, although I've worked well with the president, she has never called in Florida. She has never offered any support. So what she's doing is she's trying to inject herself into this because of her political campaign. So as the governor here who's leading this, I don't have time for those games. I don't care about her campaign. Obviously, I'm not a supporter of hers, but she has no role in this process. And so I'm working with the people I need to be working with. We're leveraging the resources I need to be leveraging. And for her to try to say that my focus should be on catering to her rather than worrying about my own people just shows she doesn't understand what it means to respond to these natural disasters.
And also the news conference today, another genius question comes in. Cut 8, go.
Governor, the storm, some Wall Street analysts predicted that Milton's losses could exceed $50 billion. Does the state have any sort of...
How the hell would a Wall Street analyst be able to know? It's been dark all day. What, you just going to know that you're going to do? I mean, like, give me a break on some of this stuff. They're doing damage assessments now. They always say this or that or whatever. I mean, what I would say is what I said in the original talkers. We had certain worst case scenarios in terms of going into Tampa Bay. A lot of places in Pinellas County, they had negative storm surge because it sucked the water out of the bay. So in terms of all that, where you'd see the entire Tampa Bay area underwater, that did not happen. The storm surge, it was most acute in Sarasota. And I think it was a little bit more than Sarasota got for Helene, but it wasn't like so much more. I think it was 8 to 10 feet. Helene, of course, got almost to 20 in Taylor County. And then I think the fact that the storm weakened, I think I'm not saying there's not going to be damage. There will be. It cut across the state in a way that Helene did not. But in terms of just right now, the morning after, if I think back to like Hurricane Ian, I don't think that you're looking at similar amount of damage to Ian. And then with Helene, there may end up being more overall damage. There may not. I don't know. But definitely the surge did not reach Helene levels.
And the media don't really give a damn about the people. I'm not talking about the media that's there in Florida, in North Carolina, in Georgia, in these other locations. I'm talking about the Washington, D.C. media, those types. They don't really give a damn. Here's Mary Bruce, ABC News, to Mayorkas, the Secretary of DHS. listen to this one, because they use the word misinformation, of course, and that's like good little totalitarians. If you dare question them and the efficacy or efficiencies of the government, well, you're out of line, see. You're misinformation. You need to be punished. You need to be diminished. So Mary Bruce buys into all this. ABC News to Mayorkas today. Cut 4, go.
Do you have any information to suggest that any foreign governments have tried to take advantage and amplify this misinformation about the response and recovery effort?
Now stop for a minute. Think about this. It wouldn't even enter your mind normally, right? Do you have any information to suggest any foreign government has tried to take advantage and amplify this misinformation about the response and recovery effort? The response to Hurricane Helene by the feds was disgusting. It was slow. Very little was prepositioned. They waited a week to call in the military. We know this from the volunteers who were there, Republican and Democrat. We know this from the charitable organizations that were there. We know this from the private pilots that were there. We know it from the people suffering that were there. They didn't see anybody from the federal government for days. It was neighbor helping neighbor. And red-blooded American citizens throughout North Carolina, and for that matter, around the country, saying, I got to do something about this, including some of these vet organizations that took action to try and get Americans and our allies in Afghanistan out of that hellhole. And we're supposed to lie about this, go along with the government propaganda? And now it's Donald Trump's fault? Now it's misinformation? So all those people in North Carolina have been lying. All those people in Georgia have been lying. All those people who are suffering, who've lost family members and friends, they're all lying. All the charitable groups, all the volunteers, they're lying. And all the media that was there, I saw the Fox media mostly, they said nobody's here either from the federal government. They're lying too? And here's Mary Bruce, ABC News in Washington, D.C. Are they going to take advantage of this misinformation? In other words, is Trump giving aid and comfort to our enemies? That's what she means to say. It's so sick. It's so damn sick. And what did he say? Go.
I have not been alerted to that phenomenon.
Boy, this guy's definitely the sharpest knife in the drawer, isn't he? Go ahead.
Foreign nations disseminate false information for other purposes. I have not seen it in the context of Hurricane Helene.
And he goes on that he doesn't know anything about it because it's such a stupid question where they're trying, this ABC News phony reporter, this fraud and this phony, where they're trying to instigate, trying to provoke even more controversy. Now, of course, Biden, with an IQ of a grapefruit, he's all in because this is what he knows. This is what Harris knows. They know how to sharpen their teeth and sharpen their nails and to be vicious and vile, not competent. Look at the border. We can go on and on. Look at the economy with inflation. The dumbest duo ever. The most moronic duo ever. And so here's a reporter, once again. Cut 1, go.
Have you spoken with former President Trump at all?
Are you kidding me? Mr. President Trump, former President Trump, get a life, man. Help these people.
Will you hold him accountable? You said you were going to hold those
He did get a life, and he is helping these people more than you are, you old clown, when you're in Rehoboth Beach. That's right. You jerk. You jerk. All right. That's enough of that. I don't want to play any more of that. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I didn't know Barack Obama was running for a third term. I didn't know you could. He's going to be out there on the campaign trail running for president for Kamala. I've never seen anything like this before. We have our buddy, really good man, Senator Rick Scott with us. Senator Scott, how are you, sir?
Well, I'm trying to keep everybody safe and alive in Florida. We had this Helene, and then we had Milton, and gosh, we had everything. We had storm surge, we had rain, we had wind, we had tornadoes. It threw everything at us.
They really did, because, our home is in Martin County on the east side over there, and that's where a lot of these damn tornadoes came down, and 13 people dead so far, at least 5 of them from those tornadoes. This was a hell of a hit right behind Helene, and, you were governor there too, and you were very good at handling these things too. What do you make of Kamala Harris's, effort to involve herself, to draw attention to herself? It seems so cheap.
It doesn't make sense. First off, I sat next to her for 2 years on Homeland Security, so I actually know her a little bit. She's been vice president for 4 years and never called. So I can't imagine she's called the governor before. Now, Biden, he called me today about the hurricane. And I met with him last Thursday about the hurricane, but I don't know why Harris, she's not involved in this at all. And by the way, wasn't she like the person that was the border czar? And wasn't she like the last person standing in Afghanistan? So she's, but right now our state's getting back to work. I've been talking to all of our sheriffs. I've been traveling the state. I was in Fort Myers area today, Naples today, and in, Punta Gorda. I'll be in a variety of places tomorrow. Everybody, our sheriffs, our police departments, our fire departments, they're working their tail off. But boy, those tornadoes, those were scary. Completely out of the blue, out of the path of the hurricane. It really was a scary time.
Terrible, terrible. And in the middle of all this, you're running for re-election, so that complicates things. And but we do need to talk about it because the election's upon us in a little over 2 weeks. Tell me how that looks like.
Well, we're working hard every day. I've been to, in 18 when I ran for the first time to the Senate 3 weeks before that election, we had the hurricane up in Panama City. So it seems like just before my elections, we're going to have a hurricane. But, I travel every day, I campaign every day, and we just try to get our message out every day. And I think the reason I've been able to win the 2 governor's races and the Senate race is that people know that I'm going to work hard to take care of them.
Mm-hmm. And how's this campaign going? Is it close? Is it what I'm finding across the country is the Democrats have an enormous amount of money, and they are using that money to smear their opponents and to lie about themselves. I'm guessing your opponent's doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah. They have plenty of money. My opponent's a socialist. She is a clear socialist. She was in the House one term and lost because, she was in Miami, a socialist, and she was best friends with AOC and Tlaib and that whole crowd. And so, what she doesn't get in Florida, in particular in Miami, we have a whole bunch of people that left socialism. But she is a complete socialist. So she's lying. She's lying about her record. She's lying about me. So every day I raise money. If anybody wants to help me, you can go to rickscott.com, rickscott.com, because we are having to fight her lies each and every day.
Let's put that on our social sites, ladies and gentlemen. And anytime you go to my social sites, rickscott.com, was it? rickscott.com?
Yep. rickscott.com.
Let's help out the senator.
Every day we're fighting, and we're going to, we're going to, we've won because we had a better message, and we just outworked our opponents, and we're going to get the vote out. We're going to work hard every day. We got a great campaign team. Just work.
What I've learned about you, Senator Scott, also is you didn't come to Washington to be part of the good old boys network, the McConnell network, the ruling class, the special interests. You took the lead to actually challenge McConnell. You're taking the lead to try and bring conservative fiscal policy to the United States Congress. You've joined with the likes of Ted Cruz and Mike Lee and some of the others as traditional constitutional conservative voices in the U.S. Senate. And so Mitch McConnell has raised, Ted Cruz told me, $400 million with his Senate leadership PAC. Is he contributing any money to your campaign?
No, he's not going to help me. I mean, they haven't spent a dime to help me. If you look at the history of what McConnell does with that money, he helps people that will vote the way he wants them to vote, and he knows Ted and I we're going to vote to we're going to follow the Constitution, something pretty simple. I'm supposed to represent Florida. Ted Cruz is supposed to represent Texas, and we'll find things that based on states' rights that we agree on. But we're not going to go represent just whatever Mitch McConnell wants. So I ran against him at the end of 22, wasn't successful. He's now stepping down. There's 3 of us running. The other 2 are good guys, John Cornyn and John Thune. But I'm running because we have got to start focusing on how do we balance the budget. We can balance the budget. You do it. I did as governor all 8 years. I walked in with a budget deficit. I balanced the budget. I said, this is what we're going to collect. This is what we're going to spend. We don't collect more than that. We're not going to spend more than that. It's pretty simple. We're not solving any of the national problems. So I think since McConnell's been there, the debt's gone from 5 to 30. It's almost 36. It'll be $36 trillion in another few months.
And as you say, you've been a governor, an extremely successful governor in a very successful state. You bring that mindset, that executive mindset to Washington, and your head explodes, and you say, what the hell's going on here? What are these people doing?
I'm the luckiest guy around. Grew up in public housing, born to a single mom. I got to build businesses. I built the largest hospital company in the world, a bunch of manufacturing companies. And guess what? We succeeded because we had a goal, and we worked our goal every day. We've got to do the same thing in the Senate. We need, as Republicans, to do what we said when we ran. Balance the budget, right? Secure the border. Watch how money's being spent. Don't overregulate people. Give people power back to them. Give them freedom. Represent their country the way our founding fathers set it up. The Constitution does work. It's worked for centuries. And so we need to go back to that and quit trying to fight the Constitution.
When we come back, Senator, we'd like to hold you over the break. I want to know more about your opponent, what her view is on law and order, what her view is on securing the border, what her view is on bringing prices down through the market system by ending inflation and the massive debt and the spending. I want the people in Florida and all over the country to understand the significant contrast that exists. And your race is not an absolute shoo-in, is it, sir?
No, absolutely not.
So I want to talk about that, too. People look at Florida, they say it's Republican. The fact is these people are spending a ton, which tightens up these races. So we'll be right back with Senator Rick Scott.
Mark the 10, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
We'll get to our friend Senator Rick Scott of Florida in a moment. And by the way, I don't know what our people are doing, Mr. Producer, on radio, some on TV, talking about these polls. It looks like, Kamala's fading and so forth. Do they remember the red wave 2 years ago? How do you get people out to vote? By focusing on polls? Screw the polls. Screw the poll. You fight like you're behind. You fight like you're behind in politics. You fight like you're behind in the military. You don't get cocky. There's no reason to be cocky. You got to fight right up to the last vote. So I don't bring pollsters on. All the other guys do. I don't bring pollsters on to talk about where we are and how many wrong times have they been? And for God's sakes, we're trying to get people to get out and to vote early. And we know we got to have enough votes to overcome what they do. So what is the point? Honestly, I don't get it. But it's very annoying to me. I just have to be honest with you. All right. We're back to Senator Rick Scott, constitutional conservative from Florida. Senator Scott, tell us about your opponent, where she stands on the border, where she stands on deficit spending, where she stands on social issues, and most of all, let the people know this is a close race. All these races are close.
Well, first of all, what you said about polls is absolutely right. I mean, the only poll that matters is Election Day. And the only way you win is you get people that support you out to vote. So in Florida, you can vote absentee ballot. You can already do that. We'll start early voting in the middle of October. You can do that, or you can wait and vote Election Day. The earlier you vote, we bank your vote. And this is the same thing with President Trump. In every state, vote as early as you can. In Florida, they'll tell you if your vote has been counted, so you know that your vote's counted. Now, my opponent, here's what she believes in. One, she believes in the appeasement of all the dictators. So starting with the Castro regime, she believes it's okay that the Castro regime has killed Americans. It's okay that they have a Chinese spy balloon. So she completely appeases them, Maduro, Ortega. Next, she believes that we ought to continue to give everything. We should give people a tax break if they're illegal, and then raise your taxes if you're legal. If you're here, an American citizen paying taxes, your taxes should go up. But if you're an illegal citizen, you should get a tax break. She believes in open border. Everything that comes out of Harris's mouth, she puppets. She is complete supporter of Kamala Harris. She's the best friend of AOC and Tlaib Omar. So if you look at all the things that we care about, she's the opposite. She is a complete socialist. She's like Harris. They want to tell you exactly how to lead your life. Look, you're going to make mistakes. I will too. I want to go make those mistakes. I don't need government dictating everything to me. Tell me what to eat, what I can drink, what I can wear, any of that stuff. Give me my freedom. I'll go figure it out on my own.
Now, you have a large Jewish population in Florida. Where does she stand on Israel?
Well, she doesn't. She doesn't support Israel, and she'll never go out and talk anything about anti-Semitism. So she's never called out Iran. She won't call out Iran for what they've done. Right? She's trying to go get the pro-Hamas vote. I mean, this craziest thing in the world that people want to go support baby beheaders. That's exactly what Hamas is. She never will call them out. Never will call them out. She will never call out anti-Semitism. And whether we like it or not, there is anti-Semitism going on in this country. And I didn't hear her talking about anything about what happened on October 7th. Mm-hmm. October 7th is a horrible reminder that people were just killed just because they were Jewish. Mm-hmm. Just because they were Jewish. This is the
Can I ask
craziest
you a dumb
thing.
question? What is her name?
It's Debbie Merkel-Powell.
And she was in Congress for one term and then got defeated?
Yep, Carlos Jimenez beat her in Miami. But she is playing the liberal card and thinking she's going to win that way.
What did she do before?
I have no idea. I've never heard of anything she's done.
Nobody has.
She worked at a school. I think she worked at a school.
She's pretty well unknown. It's very weird that they have a candidate like that. But Schumer is pouring a fortune into Florida to try and defeat you, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, just remember, Schumer spent now, McConnell didn't help me, but Schumer spent $65 million out of his PAC in 2018 to try to beat me. In the month of October in 2018, right, they spent $60 million, $15 million a week to try to defeat me. The only reason I won is you did exactly what you said. We went and hustled to get the people that supported what we believe in, right? The people that believed in the Constitution, accountability in government, they came out and voted. We had to get 4.3 million votes. And then, if you remember, they illegally counted tens of thousands of ballots after election night. Mm-hmm. Right? Remember Mark Elias, who had never lost a recount?
Oh, yeah, he's a real lowlife.
I don't care. Yeah, he said, I don't care that Rick Scott won. He got more votes. He got 57,000 more votes. We're going to win through the courts. We had 7,000 volunteers, went through 3 recounts. We had 1,000 lawyers. We fought them in the courts all over the state of Florida, and we won only because we went and got our votes, and our volunteers busted their butt for, I think it was 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. So ignore the pollsters. We've been burned so many times. This is a battle of votes. It's not a battle of pollsters.
It's all about votes.
A lot of these hosts on TV and radio, they're filling time. I'm not filling time. I'm on a mission here. We got to get our country back. We got to protect what liberty we passed to our children.
Right. We win, they lose. I want my kids, your kids, our grandkids to live in freedom. That's what I want. I want them to have the same opportunity I had. Didn't grow up with any money, but I had opportunity. I want that for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're all for you, Senator. Go to rickscott.com. rickscott.com if you can help in Florida, which is my residence, my home. I split it in Virginia, but Florida's my home. And I would encourage people in Florida. I know the hurricanes are there, but those of you who've avoided them, get out and vote as soon as you can, and help your neighbors vote too. Honest to God. Rick Scott, we wish you all the best, my friend.
Thanks, Mark. We're going to win. We're just going to work hard.
You bet. I appreciate you very much. Again, you can help Rick Scott at rickscott.com. And don't forget Melania Trump's book, Melania, Amazon.com. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Well, tomorrow evening begins Yom Kippur, the holiest of the holy holidays, Day of Atonement for people of the Jewish faith. And you're supposed to fast. And so that's what we do. So to my Jewish friends out there, we wish you an easy fast on the Day of Atonement on Yom Kippur. And I want you to listen to this. This is from President Trump. Let me see if I can find it here. He's at the Economic Club today in Detroit, and he's proposed, in addition to no taxes on tips. Let me tell you something. Kamala Harris won't follow through on this stuff. She doesn't believe it. No taxes on Social Security. She says, I want to do that too. Again, why didn't she? Why didn't she and Joe Biden do it? Because they have no intention of doing it. And then Trump announced today, you should be able to deduct the interest on a vehicle, a truck or a car or SUV or whatever that you purchase, which is the way it was prior to 1981. You can deduct interest on credit cards too. But in exchange for that, Reagan had these massive tax cuts. The problem is they've increased taxes, all kinds of taxes. They've increased the cost of living, so you need to look at this stuff anew. And that's what Trump's doing. And notice everything he's doing is not for billionaires. It's for average people. No tax on tips. No tax on Social Security. No tax on interest on loans for vehicles. Does that sound like he's redistributing wealth to billionaires? No, that's what they do. But they just lie about it. But he's very upset, and I agree with him, with this CBS that didn't edit Kamala Harris's comments, changed them, replaced them with comments she made earlier in the interview. I have never seen anything like this in my life, and they did it to try and help her because they have a lot of eyes on 60 Minutes. It's still a top 10 program. Cut 15, go.
The other big news is the fraud committed by 60 Minutes and CBS, together with the Democrat Party, working together with them, which will go down as the single biggest scandal in broadcast history, I predict. It's a big story. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Happened. They learned about it yesterday evening. The real answer of Kamala was very crazy or dumb. Nobody knows what, but it was bad. So they actually replaced it. Think of this. They've never done that for me. They actually replaced it with another answer having nothing to do with what she said before. They took another thing that she said and they just lopped it in there. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. 60 Minutes, nobody's ever seen. And they wanted to make her look as good as possible, make her look better. A big problem in our country is the fake news. We have such fake news.
You're 100% right. It's so awful. For instance, they talk about this big gap, women's gap, that Trump is behind, 16 or 20 points with women, particularly in the suburbs? And when I mention that, some women contact me. I live in the suburbs. I'm for Trump. I'm not talking about you, obviously. I'm talking about your neighbor. And it's really bizarre, the way they play women. The way they play women, particularly women who've gone to college, particularly women in the suburbs, the way they play women. Abortion. They just wave abortion in front of faces and people say, yeah, I'm voting for her. Why don't you look at her real record? She's helped destroy women's sports under Title IX. Title IX was an educational amendment in 1972 to the Civil Rights Act in 1964. Why? To ensure that women had equal access in schools and colleges and universities to funds to help them if they want to get involved in various sports and athletics. And so they've destroyed that. They changed Title IX without passing a statute, which is unconstitutional, to do what? To allow biological boys and men to participate in girls' and women's sports. So they basically destroyed this Civil Rights Act, this amendment to it, that was intended to promote women in sports, women athletics. So these women they're not able to get scholarships. They're not able to compete fairly. They're not able to get the trophies and so forth that they work for. Kamala Harris did that. Oh, but I'm voting for Kamala Harris because she's for abortion. And so, once again, let me educate people. The decision is made in the states. There's not a single state that has outlawed abortion altogether. Not one. And if you need abortion for medical purposes, And even for some other exceptions, virtually every state allows that. And the examples that Kamala Harris uses, like this poor woman who died from Georgia, has absolutely nothing to do with the Dobbs decision or access to abortion. She took an abortion pill, and there were complications from that. And the doctors who provided her with the medical care and so forth, they couldn't save her, or they failed to save her. But it had nothing to do with abortion per se, the right to abortion, or the Dobbs decision. These people lie. And I would ask these women in the suburbs, if your daughter is 14 years old and she's pregnant and she goes to Planned Parenthood and she wants to get an abortion, the position of the Democrat Party is, Mom, that you don't need to know, and in fact you shouldn't know. It's none of your business. Do you agree with that? Well, 85% of the American people do not. Even people who believe in abortion and support it. And yes, despite the lies, despite how outrageous it seems, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz believe in abortion on demand right up to birth, right up to the second of birth, when the baby's in the birth canal. Now, if that's not infanticide, I don't know what the hell is. Under Roe, it had a trimester system that a state could regulate the last 3 months. The Democrats don't want to do that. They want to go much further than Roe. They lie. They say, oh, we want to codify Roe. No, they want to codify something that's not done in another country on the face of the earth. On the face of the earth. And when they say Donald Trump's not right, that's a lie. When he says that you have Democrats in some states who believe that even when a botched abortion, if the baby is born healthy and is born, that you don't have to have medical doctors care for it, and it can die on the table. I want you ladies in the suburbs to look that up on the internet. I want you to Google it. Tim Walz. And look at the law he signed. He signed a law with language that actually repeals the requirement that doctors care for those babies if they're born under any circumstances because they're human beings. He signed a law that repealed that. And Kamala Harris agreed with him and chose him to run with her. They are liars. Infanticide. Abortion on demand. They don't support Roe. They support nothing any other country on the face of the earth has even contemplated. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers. We support the men and women in Ukraine, our brothers and sisters in Israel, and most of all, you red-blooded Americans. I'll be back Monday. I want you to check out Life, Liberty, and Levin Saturday and Sunday. Set your DVR. God bless.